Welcome to another episode of Am I Losing My Mind? American Granny Speaks Out. Good morning, everyone. Because it's so close to election time, everybody is harping about what matters, and rightly so. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying they should. But I don't just watch how America handles things. I watch how other countries are handling things. And I see, the Brits and the English are facing the same kind of tyranny Americans are right now. We're being told we have no civil liberties. We don't even have human rights at the moment. Now, after going through the attack by woke, because we believe that your gender is not your identity, that's your personal preference, and you can't force it on other people. Now, Americans have been overly tolerant on this issue and now have an explosion of mental illness plaguing our country through our children because their hormones are out of balance to the natural processes of their bodies. And they are seeing a mental deterioration. So many people talk about, they'll say, well, everything is multidimensional. No, it's not. Not in this dimension. There may be other dimensions, lots of them, countless infinity numbers of them, but they are not this one. This is the reality of humanity and all life forms on this planet. We are not going into other dimensions by going into fantasy, because the outside world does not change the fact that you have to work for a living, you have to be a human being, you have to be respectful of others, you cannot walk around screaming, exclusionism. I don't think a man dressed in lingerie in a high school who has, I think there's Z cups, he had implants put in, working with saws. Now, I did see this on TikTok, and he felt he had every right to be there. Now, his students said they were uncomfortable seeing a half-naked teacher in front of them. Now, their teacher not wearing safety protocol to work with saws also upset and unnerved the students. Yet this person was, well, it's because no, it's because you are not taking the proper protocols to be safely teaching your children that you are in charge of that day or that class. This is ridiculous. You have no right to impose your beliefs on those children. You know nothing about their households, and yet you say, well, they're all bigots. They're all, No, the only ones I see that have shown extreme bigotry are woke people. Now, I've even heard, what's the argument between transgender and transsexual? Transsexual is someone who likes to dress in the opposite attire. That's it, of what their normal attire is. And for people today, it's not just, I'm going to dress like a woman. That's a transsexual. But now, they're trans-speciesing. I'm a cat, I'm a dog, and I'm a woman, and I'm a man, and I'm a they. You're not any of those, you're one. If you have a problem with being one in this dimension in which you reside, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to find a way to manifest out of this dimension and into another one. And I'm sure science is hard at work at that. So just be patient. Okay? I am a very accepting person until you force your beliefs down my throat. That's why I don't subscribe to a religion. If someone wants to talk to me about their faith in God, I listen. I have no problem with that. They're telling me why God is this experience for them. They're not telling me I have to believe that way. And I'm sorry, but you can't fight biology. Now, science is promising men, we're going to give you wombs. You'll be able to carry children. Will you be able to get pregnant? No. But we can inseminate an egg and put it in your womb. Okay, so now you are an artificial human being. Your sexual identity has been removed. And in place of that identity, you're putting something artificial. So that is not going to provide for you the pleasure that you can have with sex. As a 60-year-old woman, I'm old enough to say sex can be fun. But that's not for my children to experience. That's a personal experience for me. Now, I have lived through the open sex, have sex with anybody and everybody you want, and generations. And you know what I've seen? Illness, disease, the spreading rampant of AIDS. And I'm not saying it was through just gay men. Wake this up, people. AIDS hit everybody. Because we were an intersexual species. We would go have sex with other males, other females, and do it unprotected. Now, there's no way, I don't care what they tell you about a condom, there is no way to avoid getting AIDS if you swap body fluids with someone who has AIDS or HIV. Now, my father, my stepdad, was HIV. Okay, it was dormant, but it gave him Hep C. He didn't get it through sex. He got it through sharing a needle. So, you know, of course, he was young. He was stupid. He didn't understand what he was doing to his body. If he could have seen what his middle age years would have been like, the hemorrhaging from everywhere on his body. I had seen this personally with him go through this. My mother would call me, Angel, check on your dad. He's been in the bathroom a very long time. You know how he... And I've gone in there and he's out cold. Loss of blood. So we are talking about protecting ourselves physically. Now, when you are pretending to be animals, yeah, I'm going to touch on it, people. When you are protecting or presenting yourself as a dog or a cat in our society, on our animals, we have laws. Cats can't drive. Dogs can't drive. Not legally. Why? Because they can't buy insurance. They can't be taxed yet. Give our government time. Because they can't hold a job. Okay, so those things are apt to change. But not the sexuality of it all. You have no right having sex with an animal. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your belief system is. To rape an animal that cannot say it's okay is wrong. And I don't care if you're male or female. Your body parts are made differently. If you are a male having sex with female dogs, you are ripping them up inside and you don't care. So you are the worst of the evil. That's like doing that to a child whose body is not defined yet. And I think you should have your junk not only cut off, but made sure it never, ever, ever, ever works again. And you should have to walk around with a sign on your back that says, I torture animals and little children. Not I'm a pedophile. I torture animals and small children. That should be on every piece of clothing you put on your body. You want to identify who you are to the world? Put it out there for real. Stop the bozo makeup. You just remind me why I don't like clowns. I'm not afraid of a clown, but I don't like them because I think they are a place for the hidden darkness that nobody should be living in to reside. In public, unseen, because of the mask. Now, people, I know that everybody's going to have their opinion on this kind of thing, and that's fine. You have every right to your opinion, unless your opinion steps out the realms of reality. When your opinion steps outside the realm of this dimension and this reality, you can't be taken seriously. And I see a lot of young people falling for this manipulation. I'm sorry for all the college kids that I watched. My heart breaks for you. Because apparently you're not being taught anything worthwhile. I mean, if you want to go into having a purpose in life, why not make a purpose out of yourself that is useful to all humanity, not a select few? The deviants who want the right to be deviants are not allowed, because it has been proven throughout thousands of years of society that these deviant behaviors, like raping children and animals, does not benefit the community on a whole. You are a part of a community. If you're going to school, you're part of a community. If you're at home, you're part of a community. Unless you live in total isolation, which is getting harder to do these days, you live in a community. And you don't have to believe like everybody else in that community. And when you're in your own private space, like your home, you have every right to believe as you do, unless you are committing a terrorist act on an animal or a child. And I'm tired of these acts being seen as mildly offensive. I am a child who was subjected to child rape and molestation. And it never happened from a stranger. Why are these things taboo? Well, let's see. I had 4 children living. I have 9 children I miscarried. I had developed cancer from scar tissue that I received as a child. My womb was moved out of place because of the rapes I endured as a preteen. So, no, there are reasons for these harmful acts being called harmful acts. Now, my father grew up in a household like what he put on his children. And he lived to regret it. He lived to regret it. Because this was something that was hidden it was accepted, and it never should have been. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be here if my father had recognized what a risk he was and not ever impregnated my mother. Now, my mother came from the same kind of family, same kind of background. So you're right, hiding this is not good, but accepting it is worse. And if you accept it in your homes, where you, as an adult, are responsible for protecting whatever children are in that home with you. Your job is to protect that child, even if it means going to jail, from someone who refuses to control their own demons. I have my demons, believe me. But on the rare occasions I actually caught adults messing with children, and believe me, I was really shocked to find out women are as demented as men on that. It was ass-whooping time. No, you will never touch a child after I'm done beating on you. You will never touch a child inappropriately. Now, parents, this one's for you. What the hell is wrong with you giving up all your rights to your children? Living in a community that the government owns your kids. Have you lost your sense of purpose? Why did you make those babies? Why did you lay down and make those babies? My grandmother asked me that very same question. When you choose your sexual preference, always remember something will be produced of it. Something. Whether it be emotional, genetic, like a child being conceived, or a mental awareness. Parents, American parents, I'm astonished. I have went through months of watching Gen X beating up on their kids, acting like the same bullies I dealt with in high school and I dealt with in junior high that I despised because they had no compassion for anyone else and thought they had a right to put their bad onto someone else. I fought those kind of bullies. I was the girl that got suspended from school for beating up a bully. And I'd do it again. You have no right. Whatever is happening in your home, fight it on the soil where you have your war. I did. And when I refused to be a part of it, like my father beating on my mother, oh, no. My mother couldn't stop it because of where she believed she was trapped. And in her case, she was right. But she never should have signed over her rights to a man she was not married to for her children. That was her flaw. But he promised to take care of those kids and to be a father to them. And though she has her causes for hating him, which I absolutely agree, she has hers, I have mine for not. Yeah, I have reason to dislike a lot of things or hate a lot of the things he did. But he also did a lot of good things, and I have never heard her talk about those. That's what's wrong with the world today. All we want to talk about is, I feel bad. So what? So does 99% of the planet. You have every right to feel bad. But I don't have to show any kind of pity for you Because especially if I think you brought it on yourself. If you're sitting there now, a man who went through the surgeries, went through the hormones, did all that, and now you're saying, oh, well, you know, it was a bad choice. I was misled. We're all misled. But I never mutilated my body because I was misled. Look, we all have issues. They're not all the same. And they have similar causes, but they're still not the same causes. So we think that makes us individuals. It does not. Who you are in here makes you an individual. Your intelligence to be able to say, no, I don't want to believe that way. No, I don't think that's right. Human will is not only the will to do things, it is also the will not to do them. Remember, free will is a two-sided coin, as is everything in this world. So for all you multi-dimensional people, you're going to have to find a loophole of a black hole, a white hole, or whatever, so that you can go to the dimension you think you belong in. Your fantasy is fantasy here. And I don't care if you want to live by like a dog and you have people who are willing to allow you to do that, and have you spaded or neutered. Make sure you have all your vaccines so that you can't pass on rabies or anything else. The dogs or cats are susceptible to. I mean, I've watched so many animals die from disease. They say animals don't get sick. Have you ever seen an animal vomiting blood and pooping blood at the same time? I have. They call it bloating. And it's a torturous, painful death for the animal. And you can definitely see that it is exactly that for that animal. What's the other? Parvo. It kills the animal slowly by bleeding it to death. Dehydrating the body, the brain, everything until it dies. So you cannot tell me that animals don't get sick. I've seen animals with COVID. I've seen animals with allergies. Most of those are domestic animals, which means we've altered some way in their natural processes by them being with us. And I do believe that to be true. But the rest of this is a sidewalk drama. It's not useful to anybody. It just incites more hate, because some people are, no, I'm determined, I'm right, even if I know I'm fucking wrong. Excuse my potty mouth. I'm not that kind of person. You can show me I'm wrong about something. I will say I'm wrong. What's the big deal? It's not an insult to my pride that you presented a fact that shows I may have misunderstood what my beliefs really were. That's the American quest. That's the human quest. So stop living in a fantasy world and expecting that bubble to present itself around you. I know a lot of mysticism say manifestation. Yeah. But what is a manifestation? You taking action to make what you desire happen. But for most people, using that is for their own survival. It's not for their identity. It's not for their sexual preferences. I mean, discretion is always a good thing. But living beyond that discretion into a realm of non-reality. You've been exposed to too much technology, and you should not be allowed anywhere near it for the next 10 years. Because you've tried to take a fake reality that's given to you and make it a reality. You will never be anime. Now, with virtual AI, I can pretend and actually see, but it's still fantasy. And people are crossing over that line and forgetting that. And it's not the American way. The American way is you live in reality so that you can understand what's wrong with this reality so that you can try and correct the path of this. Now, my path is not your path. I get that. We're all going 10 million different ways. But at some point, we're going to have to come back together. And I'm sick and tired of it taking some extinction event for it to happen. And when I hear anybody spouting civil war in America, all I can think of is how foolish our country has become. Because anybody who's lived through a civil war would never encourage you to go there unless it was a last resort. And I don't see that we are at a last resort. I know the media and propaganda is saying that we are at a last resort, but we're not. We're nowhere near it. It's hype. It's, what do they call it today? Gaslighting. I'm not looking at all this stuff saying, oh my God, that's real. Oh my God, that's real. Oh my God, that's real. I'm not doing that. There's a reason why I am not doing that. The reason is because I live in the real world, where when I stub my toe, it hurts. When I have a car accident, it damages my car, and if I hit somebody else, their car. And guess what? We're going to have to determine who's at fault for who to pay. I don't think there's any other way you could really do it. Now, the real world consists of paying bills. Every American citizen absolutely understands that. Every American immigrant absolutely understands it. It's about working and paying your taxes, trying to keep your government happy while you try to survive in the world they're creating. But you got to remember, the government in this country, in the United States of America, is supposed to be run by its people. Now, we got a serious problem because Americans are not running the show anymore. Politicians are. And I think that we need to redirect our position forward. Best way I could think of putting it. We're not getting anywhere attacking each other. Oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. I'm an American. Anybody asks, what's your heritage? American. I was born and raised here. I'm American. Now my neighbors from Puerto Rico, I hate to tell you, you're a territory of America. That's why you get federal assistance in Puerto Rico. Though it's not very good because your government keeps it all. But you're still an American. So why do I have to separate where you are currently residing or where you came from? You're either an American or you're not. I am an American. If my skin was purple, I would still be an American. If I was born in China and I legally migrated to the United States and earned my citizenship. I am not a Chinese American. I'm an American. That's the unity that I should be seeing in my society at this age of how long we've been at this. Because just because the Americas are considered a new country, no, they're not. They are not. They are thousands and thousands of years old, and we keep making the same stupid mistakes with our leaders. America was supposed to be different. It's not. Why? The royal family, big money, all of that got their hands into our government. And Americans let them have it by our votes. That's on us. So everything you see your government doing wrong is on us. We allowed it. Governor Newsom, biggest joke next to Kamala. They're like neck and neck. Those two have been working together for more than 15 years. And in the 15 years that they were working together, you have seen the massive decline of the economy and the citizens. Homelessness, they say, is through the roof. Okay, I believe that from what I see. Suicide rates, overdose rates are through the roof. So, and now, if you're homeless, you're a criminal, especially if you're an American. It's okay if you're homeless and an immigrant, an illegal immigrant. Now, this leads to another very, very, very touchy subject for me. Because this is the first time I've actually experienced anything like this when it comes to immigration. And I lived in Texas where Lubbock was the hub. All Mexican people came up through Lubbock, or illegal immigrants would come up through Lubbock and then disperse across the country from there. It was a hub, still called the hub. And it is still the hub. But I saw something that is illegal that our government did, but because they enforced it as the government does, they're actually not illegal immigrants. They were all given visas when they got here. Now, visa doesn't allow you near my elections. Sorry. But it does make you legally in my country. Now, I can't go back and make those millions of people that came here thinking and being told they were going through a legal process. This is what they were told. And because of an app created under the policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, these were legalized before they ever got in the country. So how are we going to handle this one, America? I really want to know. Because technically, under law, because of the app that was created illegally, these people were told they were coming here legally. They are not criminals. Under any technical argument that I could come up with, they are not illegally in my country. The only ones illegally here are the ones with criminal backgrounds in their native lands, because you cannot come into America if you have that kind of background. Those are the only ones here illegally. Now, this is a difficult argument because there are a lot of people angry, and rightfully so. I'm one of them. But I am not angry with any immigrant. I'm sorry they got lied to about what they were going to find when they got here. And I'm sorry I didn't know about this app years ago when it was first brought out by the Kamala Biden-Harris campaign, whatever, and doctrine. Had I known that it existed, I didn't know about it till, a year ago? But I gotta tell you, America, these people are not here illegally. You paid for them to come here. Well, Kamala used your money to pay for them to come here. They gave them cell phones and money to get here so that they could buy food along the way, pay for the phones, do whatever. They were given money before they ever got here. Technically, you cannot say they're illegal. So what do we do? That's what I want to know. I'm tired of hearing all the rhetoric. Deport, deport. That is not going to solve anything. First of all, it's going to tear apart families that don't deserve to be torn apart. Secondly, the only thing that should be deported from the United States of America is every single person who has a criminal record in their native land. Those are the only ones I agree with should be deported. The rest are here because they were paid money and promised a good life here. And so far, have you seen a good life for them? They're locked up in hotels. They're not free to come and go. And they got to be fearful everywhere they do go. Why? Because you're mad? Shame on you. Being mad does not give you a right to be cruel or unkind to another human being who believed what they were told when they came here. And now they have no freedom, where at least in their homeland, they had freedom of some kind. They could walk down their street. These people are living in tent cities. They are living in abandoned buildings. They had no choice but to take over hotels. There was no place else to put them. So they say. Well, personally, I think that if you are a Democrat and you own more than one house, why are those houses not filled with immigrants? That's what I'm asking you. Why isn't your house full of immigrants? Open border, remember? Open door. That was your ideals. Look what it's done. Because with all the people you're bringing in, you're not taking any responsibility. Well, I pay for them with my tax dollars. Wait a minute. They were promised a home, a car, a life, a job. You made that promise to them. Not me. I never promised anyone anything to come here. But Democrats did. And people through Kamala Harris's, oh my gosh, I never thought I'd see my country so insane. And you guys still want to squabble over he, she's, them, theys. If you're one person, you're one person. You cannot be a they. You cannot be a them. If you are 5 people, you cannot be a one. Reality has to come back. I'm dependent on it. I watched fantasy and delusions destroy 2 of my sisters. Sorry, that's my driveway alarm. Husband, home. Okay, guys, I'm gone. American Granny out. Love y'all. Sorry about that. I'm really putting a lot of strain on my phone right now. But I've got to get all this off my chest. I've been an American for 60 years. And I've seen my country go through so much. I mean, incredible things. And I was actually party to some of those incredible changes that took place. Now, I know that kids are looking for a purpose in life. And so they're grabbing on to these old issues instead of pushing us forward. Now, before I had cut off, I was talking about the immigrants that are currently in our country. Because to me, that is an important issue. I don't want to hear about deportation to those people who were brought here. What I want to hear about is who intends to lift the ban where they cannot even speak to other Americans. It's my understanding some of them speak a little bit of English. Now, I get it. Americans are coming at them with their phones, and I'm sorry. We are a very public country. I know no other way to describe it. And that is part of freedom. And you're going to see things here that you probably laughed at watching it from your homelands on TikTok or whatever apps you were allowed to use that showed Americans being ridiculous. Also showed Americans as being very violent. And yes, our youth usually is, because our youth is still working on their own identity. And they feel that they have been oppressed by their parents and by their government. I know, I'm speaking from experience. So, if you're an immigrant here, know that you're going to face this if you have children. While you're here, you will learn to question every ethic, every ounce of beliefs that you have. One of the things about being an American is we question the validity of everything. It is a good and healthy learning response to a culture that is always changing. Here in America, we are angry. Even our immigrants are angry because they came here thinking that they could someday own homes. And yet on their news, they're hearing about farms being eminent domain and land taken away from people. They're learning about maybe some conspiracy theories, and a lot of people who aren't aware of how things work will go there. I did. It kind of opened my mind up to what the possibilities were of what my government could do, what my citizens, my fellow citizens could do. Now, Americans, I am not going to say we are in a good place. We're not. But I can tell you right now, we are on our way to a much better way of living. Now, Poland has gone hardcore. We are taking in immigrants, but they have to go through the process of having background checks. They have to tell us what they're here for. They have to get work visas and, the process. So they are taking on immigrants because a lot of people are saying they're not. Yes, they are. And they're just making you go through a vetting process. And there is one religion that the population of Poland believes is a chaotic religion and will cause unrest, civil unrest, and will cause civil unrest to attack the government. And that are mostly Islamic religions and Muslim religions. My heart breaks for Gandhi to look at these two religions still intertwined in the war of who's better. And they're using just, selected, not the whole of God's message to them. And yeah, I've read a Torah. I have read a Quran. and I have read the King James Bible, and so, no, I have issues with all three. I have found them all to be altered in many ways that are very human-like, and that I don't approve of. And if I don't approve of it, I don't do it. It's just I got a conscience. I don't know about y'all, but I have this very strong conscience. And if I do something harmful to someone, I don't just hold on to the hate. I quickly, my conscience works on my brain, and it starts questioning everything I said, everything I did, every motion I made. And I become extremely critical. And you want to know what? That is part of the process of learning right from wrong. That is part of the natural process of deliberating the knowledge that you have and questioning its correctness. This is not ADD. This is not abnormal in any way. It is the normal process of the brain to question when new facts come up. It's called evolution, baby. It's a beautiful thing. It's a grand thing. Now, some intelligences get too defined into their own reality. I agree. I mean, for anyone like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk to be tampering with AI is to have any liberties to put it out there to the public when it's still in its infancy. It has not transformed even into a fetus yet. So, no, it should not be out in public use. And some of the game systems that people are just going off the deep end with, this kind of thing needs to stop until you find the appropriate audience, because taking a child's reality and making it virtual so that they can be a pet, so it can be a dog, an animal, a wolf, that is tampering with their reality. Virtual reality does not belong in the hands of children. It's dangerous. And we are seeing that in the children running around, now getting into early college, and I'm a dog. Woof. Can I poop in your yard? Has your owner spaded and neutered you yet? Do you have all your shots? Should you be allowed to be in a public place? Because I'm not sure whether you've had all your vaccines. Do I really got to treat you like that because you want the fantasy of being a dog? Or do you want to be at home, being with your pups and Mrs. or Mr., and answering your door to a normal pizza guy in your doggy costume? Because you're in your personal space, he's coming there to bring you food. Now, people, kids, let me tell you something. Do you think the hair color change is a shock to adults? It's not. You should have been around, I mean, really around for the 80s. That was the most colorful I ever saw my generations go until now. And you think you have to top that. You know what they realized with the purple hair and the blue hair and the spikes all the way up to here? I even saw a guy in school couldn't walk under some of the doors without messing up his hair. So, it's not a new thing. You are not being original. You are not being yourself. The most original thing you can be is yourself. But you haven't defined who yourself is yet. So why are you letting other people tell you who you are? Well, You know, Jamie and John and Kevin and Elizabeth are all Wackelschnorts. So on their diploma, it's going to say Wackelschnorts, graduated high school, not the people who did. So they have a worthless degree. Okay, so you're complicating your own life. See this for what it is. When you so dislike reality, now, I've been in the real world, sorry, but when you so dislike it that you have to retreat to a fantasy world, you are boxing yourself in. You're limiting your own capacity and potential in life. Do not close yourself in a bubble. Do not go and retreat to a safe place, because I promise you, that safe place is not safe. You are vulnerable because you are alone in that safe space. That's what took my sister. My mother had told her to make, she would have her do these vision things from Scientology. And they would get pretty awful. It was about my sister's memories. And they could get pretty traumatic. And my mother would tell her to retreat into her little cabin. There's nothing around her. It's just her and this safety zone. You are never alone, because you are with yourself. When you are in those dark spaces, and when you hide in the dark, others still see you because they carry their own light. Hiding in this dark, lonely, scary place is not a safety zone. And it got so traumatic that all of the anxieties and whatever manifestations my sister used, when she locked herself in those places, she couldn't escape them, because you cannot escape yourself. You can't. But you have to decide, if you don't like what you see or what you know, try to teach yourself something else, something you think is better. Now, going out and saying, I'm going to be whatever I want to be, within the confines of reality, you can be. In the realms of fantasy, you can never be, because you cannot leave this dimension. You're here. This is the reality of life. This is your growth, and you are denying it. Like I said, this is evolution, baby. And anyone who thinks that we are just this spectacular species, that nothing else on the planet is like us, I have a difference of opinion. But my dog does not have to be a human being for me to consider him an equal. He doesn't have to be a human being for me to feel that it's wrong to hurt his feelings or his physical being. When I'm angry, I hurt feelings. To me, it was better than hitting you. Okay? And it turned out to be just as bad. Equally as bad. So I need a new way. I'm learning it right now with you. And that, to me, is the most important thing. We've got to reprioritize what it means to be a human being. And that's what we're trying to do. And each generation is coming out as frustrated as the last, because we're not getting any guidance. We feel like we've been tricked and lied to go to wars, to harm other things, to harm other beings, that we don't feel this is right. Good. That's how you're supposed to feel. But your brain is supposed to help you find a solution, not take that knowledge and use it to torture you. My brain tortures me all the time. I have arguments, flat out screaming arguments in my head with myself over what I want to feel and over what's real. And that is normal, natural evolution. I don't need a drug to stop it. I don't want it stopped. I'm growing as a human being. Why would I want that stopped? I am learning to put aside bigotries of my ancestors so that I can be the kind of person I want to be. And that kind of person is actually quite inclusive. But that's inclusiveness that you're screaming about. That can only come from your community, from you being accepted as you are. Now, if you go into a job, there are certain guidelines companies used to have, about your attire at work. But, listen, in your private life, it's okay to be you, and it should be. It should be. But when you're at your job, you are not your own. You belong to that company. You are representing that company, not you. At home, you represent you. In your neighborhood, represent you. But if you're going after animals and children, don't. Hide. Get out of that neighborhood. Because I hopefully think that those Americans are getting tired of hiding in their houses. And it's Americans. I lived in Chicago. I lived on Erie Street. I lived on Huron. I lived on Menard. I lived in Chicago. One of the things that kept crime from exploding worse than it was, people took care of people. That means you watched out for who was talking to your neighbor's kids. You didn't harass those kids for being kids either. That is just, I found somebody I can beat up on, so I'm going to do it. And you need to hide in your house if that's the kind of person you are. Don't speak to others. Don't even say hello. Don't bother. But those kids, they're not committing any crimes. They're not out carjacking. They're not out dealing drugs. They're just being kids. And for you to attack them, you don't belong in that neighborhood. And that is the truth. You need to find a new residence, not them stop being people. If you don't like noise, I would tell you to move to the country, but I have lived in cities, and I live in the country now, and I'm telling you, it is not quiet at night. You have never heard the serenade of frogs. Some bird calls, and what else? Crickets. Life is life everywhere. There's nowhere to escape it except in death. And you know what? I ain't ready to die while I still have life. When I stop living my life, when I cannot get up out of a chair, when I have to be fed, when I have to be bathed, I'm going to accept, hey, this is my time. Come on, God, don't make it take too damn long. let this be quick, because I've already suffered with my body's pain. So I had a trauma neck. So we got to get back to reality. I don't care what your faith is. I really don't. It's okay to not even believe there's a God. That is irrelevant to me. That's part of your personal being. And you should live by the good ethics that come from that. Not the bad ethics. And you have that right to choose. Because whoever created the Bible for you to read, that you chose, they chose what you're reading. So, choose for yourself what you think is right or wrong. And live by that. That is the only value religion has left. Because it's used it as a war monopoly for thousands of years, and everybody's tired of it. So, all right, American Granny out, chapter 3, real long thing. My brain is just running today, and I do want to get it all out before I leave this world. Because it wasn't all about the ups and downs, it was what I learned and what I got to take with me to the other side. Because I'm at that age, I should think about that. Okay. I love you guys. American Granny out. Mwah. Brain is going to shut down.